Okay, there we go.
All right, here we go. How you doing, everybody? This is Dennis Michelson. Welcome to the science of fantasy football. Why the science of fantasy football? Well, you get a meteorologist and a biologist together. They're going to use the scientific method, and that just means that they're going to let the statistics guide them to an answer instead of how other people do it. How do other people do it? Have you ever noticed some of those statistics that get quoted that a particular player was 3 for 5 in scoring more than 15 points on Monday Night Football when the moon is blue on a Tuesday? Well, when they start cherry picking like that, you know that they are using statistics the way a drunk uses a light pole for support instead of illumination. You'll never find us doing that here on the science of fantasy football. And joining me as he does each and every week, twice a week here on the science of fantasy football, plus on the matchup lab over on the sports affiliation. Plus, we just did a marathon 3-hour podcast last night with Joe Carlton over on his
and Mike Reedy.
And Mike Reedy on his
buddy.
Aces Up podcast. Oh my goodness, what fun was that? He is the fantasy professor. He's a real professor emeritus. It's John Bush. And John, we should have had to pay admission to have that much fun last night.
Snake. Keep panning.
I'm trying to turn off my phone. I'm sorry. Yes, people should. There's something about a snake on here. I don't know what that was. I am turning off my phone here. Okay, it is off. No more snake talk. Okay. So Aces Up last night, Joe Carlton host. He was herding the cats and mongoose. That was us. And mongooses. Mongoose, that's good. I don't know. Is it mongoose or mongooses? Probably mongooses. Anyway, we were acting up like we just broke out of the retirement home and Joe didn't know what to do with us. And we had a good time. Please go check that out. It was fun. We talked about pickups for the week. We had lots of things that we discussed. And the reason I was on my phone, Dennis, because I was expecting surprising news. It's been crazy here Wednesday.
Oh, man.
You know, it's 2:50 here Central Standard Time, and you know, all sorts of stuff. Trey Benson, Bucky's in a boot, but then I heard today after I texted you that he's supposed to be out of the boot. So I don't know what's going on with him. So, and I don't know what else is happening. So it's just been crazy. Had to redo my waivers with Benson to IR, and Dennis is telling us to go get Michael Carter if DeMarcado's not there. Bam Knight is circling the wagons out there as well. If either one are out, he might be a dollar play. I have no clue. This is fluid, and Bam, he may be next week's big play if they give it all to him. I don't know. I want to think Carter is the Benson light and DeMarcado catches. But I'm trying to figure out what Bam would do. I don't know, just to spell Carter. I don't know. So anyway, Dennis, we don't have to talk about that now. But my mind, if I don't say it, it's gone. It's gone back to the retirement home. So I had to say it then.
Yeah, in the split between Benson and DeMarcado was different than the split between Benson and Connor. But I'm afraid that the split between DeMarcado and Carter, or DeMarcado, Carter, and Bam Knight might also be different. The only encouraging thing with my Michael Carter take is that he was active last week.
Yes.
All only gained 1 yard, but he was active. And that is always a good sign when your expected next man up is indeed activated to the roster, but the cards will be shuffled again out there in Arizona. And I'm not even sure. Yes, I think it's a good idea if you've got the extra roster spot to grab Carter. Tennessee is really a fairly good matchup for rushing teams this year. Even though Tennessee in the past has had a good defense, I don't think they're that stout this year. And
Tennessee is Tennessee face Arizona facing Tennessee easy for running backs, easy this year.
And here's part of the reason that gets labeled as easy is because they've not moved the ball at all on offense. So their defense gets worn down because they're on the field for so long. They're getting killed in time of possession. They're getting they haven't been competitive this year, which I really expected that offense to be a little bit better. Didn't know what we we're going to see with Cam Ward, but I thought he would be more competent than what we have seen. That has not worked out yet. It is so difficult to get a feel for what Arizona is going to try to do to beat Tennessee. That could be an ugly, ugly game, or could be a blowout, or Tennessee could come out and all of a sudden figure it out. There is so much uncertainty. There's so much upheaval that is going on right now that it is that time of the year where, not only do you have all these injuries and all these changes, and now you got quarterback swaps,
bye weeks,
but you got a bye week at the same time. Oh my goodness. Some of the bad luck on timing that you can get this time of the year. And I know you're going through it with Lamar Jackson hurt and that Jackson Love combination.
Well, they're saying now he might try to play. So that, I hope he's got a 1:00 game. I hadn't even got that far to figure that out.
Yeah, and he does indeed have a 1:00 game. So
good.
At least
so I can flip somebody in. Yeah, I'm having to go get a third guy out there. And it's lean, Dennis.
Oh,
it's lean.
It's really lean. This year, what I've noticed on our FPPC leagues, it's leaner at quarterback and running back than I've ever seen it.
Yeah,
usually there was something you could, typically you could pick up a Geno Smith, or you could pick up, just a starter, a live body.
Yeah.
It's hard to find a live body right now. The way people drafted and have built their rosters this year, I think they're paranoid about injuries and they're protecting themselves at all costs at quarterback and running back, more so than I've ever seen. There's wide receivers available.
Yes.
That you can plug and play. And
yes,
we've talked about that as a strategy play in the past, that, don't bother. It's not worth rostering an ordinary wide receiver.
I think numbers wise, you hit about 5 or 6 on, drafting wise,
yes.
And you probably don't go deeper than that. And I believe your strategy, you can always pick up somebody down there that has a good matchup and might scrape you at least 10, 12, get you by. Keep that 0 off your team and move on with other strengths.
Yeah, and the thing is like I've had to do that a few times this year where guys were injured and I had a roster spot that was, either Godwin, Ayuk, or Rice, or a couple of those, then Worthy getting hurt, where I've had to plug and play. And I was lucky to grab a Tyquan Thornton
Yep.
Rode him for a few weeks. Now his snap count fell way off with the
Yeah.
return of Worthy last week.
And Juju was
And
getting,
Juju was getting more snaps, and
yeah,
they were using Hollywood,
yep,
for that deep threat.
yeah,
And the other thing was they were using 6 offensive linemen, Professor,
yeah. That's weird.
and 2 tight ends. So that cuts into the amount of wide receiver snaps that you can have. And, obviously they're what they're announcing, we're running, we're running the ball, come and try to stop us. And they did better. Now it was Baltimore. So Baltimore's defense this has been the worst Baltimore Ravens defense I can remember. And, since Harbaugh's been there for sure, it doesn't look like they even have a game plan to stop anybody from doing what they want to do. It's been very strange to see that Ravens defense this year. But boy, what bad timing to have all this upheaval
Yeah,
the same time that bye weeks start. And it's not like there's like rum-dum teams on bye that you aren't using.
yeah,
There's at least 4 guys on the Bears were starting every week.
yep.
There's 3 on the Falcons,
Hmm.
and maybe 4 there that are worth starting every week. The Packers have been a fabulous offense to lead into with Love and Jacobs and, either Dobbs or Golden or Reed. Now Reed being hurt, Kraft. And then the Steelers, like, I don't know what has gotten into Aaron Rodgers,
Yeah.
but he's turned back into a 35-year-old version of himself. It's been a strange start to the year, but that's 4 teams with probably between the 4 teams, I would say there's 14 to 16 guys that have been in starting lineups in most leagues every week. And a lot of them performing quite well. So now all of a sudden you take those players away, you add injuries. Oh my goodness, you've got to be really fluid with your roster positioning right now. And we figured out over the last couple of weeks that in Green Bay, it's Emmanuel Wilson, not Chris Brooks, that you want as the next man up at running back. We had kind of figured out Michael Carter was the next guy, and now we'll get to see if he is indeed the next guy up. But now that means maybe Bam Knight is a guy you got to protect with if you've got that roster space. And in FPPC, they make it tough for you because in the redraft leagues, if somebody goes on IR, even if it's a 4-week IR, you can't protect that guy. You either have to ride with an empty spot, with that guy taking it up where he isn't a player you can use while he's on IR. Now, obviously, if they're on IR and they're gone for the season, that makes the decision real easy. You just cut them and you replace them. Neighbors going down with a knee injury. He's going to come off rosters this week. Tyreek Hill going down. He's going to be out. You, of course, already replaced Connor in Arizona. And now it's 4 weeks, probably maybe 5 or 6 max for Trey Benson. You kind of have to hold on to him, right?
I am now, but I don't have a lot. But the better than zero allows you to ride with them more than a wide receiver, actually, because of the draft
Yes.
style.
Yes. That is
So
the one benefit.
that's an
That's another
advantage.
benefit.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so theoretically, you've got some other potential players that might get you some points. Notice I didn't say, break the bank. I mean, we're scraping for points here. And like I said, Carter would be one. I wouldn't, I mean, you don't want to play them before they're ripe, but sometimes this week you may not have a choice. And
Yes.
Woody Marks, I'm hoping
Oh
that
man.
I'll get some action. He's just about everywhere I can stick him. So it's a good time to have him that, at least for this week, you know, he may not give us what he did last week, but I'm thinking 12 points at least. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. Can I get even more? I'm greedy, but I'll take 12. I just feel like the chances of him get me a zero are pretty low versus some other ones that you don't know. You know, Justice Hill did good, Gainwell did
Oh
good, but
yeah.
that's they could come back to earth and it could be a 6 point game for both of them this week. I mean, that's the thing with somebody like Woody. You feel, his floor is probably 10 to 12, whereas Hill or Gainwell, it could be six, and you may be, begging for six at the end of the game just to get something. I feel like there's a lot of variation going on. The quarterback issue, Dennis, because of
Oh
Browning,
yes.
so he's out. Even though he's in, he's out. And so that means that last year, he probably would have been in the mix and we would have had one more choice. I know Gabriel is kind of getting in, but and Cooper Rush, but you're like, well, what are they going to do for me? So
Yes.
in some ways, those three, so there's three positions. We lost, four this week. Love, Aaron Rodgers, you may have been, Penix, maybe super flex. You might have been riding Rodgers and Penix. So that's -4. Then Browning, Gabriel, Cooper Rush, -3 more. That's -7 right there. So you got 12. And if everybody took, two, Dennis, that's 24. Seven, that's 31. That leaves like one average spot, and there's some hee-haws that will take three quarterbacks. I'm having to grab three because of that, and it's lean. And I'm hoping Spencer Rattler's out there. I put him in there I put him in my waiver wire train down a little bit because I figured nobody's going to grab him. And yeah, Gabriel's there. Yeah, Cooper Rush is probably at the bottom of about 5 or 6 quarterbacks. I just need a body. If Lamar doesn't play and Love's on bye, and I've got too many combinations of that. I did not expect, you know, didn't expect Lamar to be injured. I expected him to get me through the Love bye, and so now I'm in a bind.
Spencer Rattler
I'm
hasn't been
hoping.
bad. He hasn't been bad. Like his worst game is 13 points, and his
You know,
best game was 29. Now that's not FPPC scoring. That's what I use, which is a 6-point touchdowns.
yeah,
But he hasn't been awful. He's been
not like a Browning.
he's been okay. Browning's been awful. Like
Yes.
Browning has just been ridiculously awful. And last time we saw Browning, he was okay.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, and it might be the offensive line. Like their offensive line is hideous this year. Chase Brown, who was very productive last year, nothing this year. He's got 2 games under 10.
And that was
six,
your
eight.
number one pick. There's a
Oh,
lot of people crabby.
oh man, I absolutely doubt he was kind of my RB2 the way I draft. Okay, because I was getting him in the 3rd round and was happy with that. When he moved up to the 2nd, I said, man, that's a little pricey for him. and I shifted to Jonathan Taylor instead of Brown in some leagues. I wish I would have done it in more leagues. Now, late second, early third, when Taylor was gone, I would take some more Chase Brown, and I'm actually trying to trade to get some Chase Brown now, figuring.
But that's hurt you as well. In other words, it's very apparent, and we did this. We had a discussion last night on the Aces Up that who were we upset about? And Chase Brown was bandied about.
Oh yeah,
I was crabbing about Brock Bowers.
Oh yeah,
the tight end. I felt that I didn't need a ninth tight end with that capital that I had to spend on him, especially in the tight end premium. See, that's what hurts. That failure in a tight end premium hurts you more.
Yes.
Yeah. It just stings more. And like I said, we discussed people were grabbing Ferguson, people were grabbing Kraft, and Hunter Henry even later still, and people were making out like bandits. Cha-ching. And Tyler Warren, the guy Indiana. I mean, there's just all sorts of different plays other than Brock Bowers because he has not delivered what I expected, and he was my regret of just because in a tight end premium, the expectation and the need, Dennis. Because once I went with Bowers, I probably waited way past Strange, past some of my stop gaps because I figured, I just need body. So I'm grabbing Noah Fant. I'm grabbing, firstly, Tongas. I was able to pair him up with the Bowers, and I have got some activity there, but I got lucky there. And I had Otten. I really thought, he was, and then I've jettisoned him. So it was lean. I was pairing up Browers and Trey McBride with those kinds. So I was deliberately skipping the mid guys, the Crafts, the Ferguson, and even Hunter Henry. I'm not going to take him this year. I don't know why I was thinking that, Dennis. It was a hot summer down here in Arkansas, and my mind got cooked here mowing the yard and stuff. So I don't know. I need one of those air conditioned helmets or something. Aren't they wearing that in the NFL? Or they probably will. Freeze the helmet and put it on. It's like a giant icicle or something. I don't know.
That.
Yeah. Anyway,
so in FPPC leagues, he was going as early as the 6th pick in the draft.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And I remember you and I talking about that.
Yeah.
And I said there is no way that I would take him before.
And Trey McBride was coming at 11th and 12th at one point early.
Yeah, and I was adamant, and I stuck to it of saying I am not taking a tight end in the first round or the first half of the second round. Like, there were guys that were safe picks to me that remember I said, I think there's like 15 first round picks this year. And that did not include
the tight end,
the 2 tight ends, because I just refused to pay. When I look at players during draft season, and I look at MVP potential, and I got 120 or better on the MVPs, those are the guys I'm going to lean into. Those are the safe, super safe upside guys that rarely disappoint you. And there were 15 of those this year. And I look at running back and wide receiver before I even think about a tight end in the first 2 rounds. So there were 15 players that all had to be gone before I'd even consider Bowers or McBride. And I actually had McBride ahead of Bowers barely. I had him basically tied but McBride got the tiebreaker because I thought he was on a better offense. And there was less
And he was
change on
cheaper.
his.
I mean, if you thought you had to grab
Yes.
one, McBride
Yes.
was the pick then if you thought they were equal.
But in FPPC, I have 0 shares of either guy because they didn't fall. Like if I was drafting late first, early second, they were too early for me.
Yeah.
And in the times, but they never made it, like rarely. Bowers never made it out of the first round.
Nope.
McBride made it out of the first
slipping.
round once for me. He made it to third pick in the second round.
Yeah, he was starting to slip.
And I was sitting there at 2-5, and I was glad he went off the board because then I didn't have to decide.
Yeah.
And I could take a running back or a wide receiver.
Yeah.
And I think in that league, I ended up taking the Sun God at 2-5. So I was like, whew, all right. I made out like a bandit here.
You did.
Getting super cheap. But here's tight ends after 4 weeks using my MVP. And I'm throwing Waller out because he was a 1-game special. So you're perfect. Well, perfect for tight ends. 100 for a tight end is rare. And right now you got McBride, Goddard, Ferguson. That's it. 75 is a starting, like 75 or better is usually the first half of the tight ends. That's the top 6 tight ends. And right now you got Warren, Kraft, Henry, Juwan Johnson. That's it. Those are so you've got 7 guys that are qualifying for what is typically a top 6 score right now. And then you got Kelsey, Ertz, Kincaid, and Pitts all at 50. So that's what, four more guys.
Yep.
So you got 8, you got 11. And then you get to Bowers.
Yep.
That's just crazy. He's the 12th best in MVP right now, and he's tied with Andrews and Laporta.
Yeah.
This is how miserable it can get for you at tight end. Now, I lucked in. I grabbed Ferguson late because I thought he was a good, safe pick to at least get me like 6 points a game. Worked out better than I ever imagined.
Right.
I have a lot of Tyler Warren, so I'm very happy with that. I've got some Tucker Kraft. I'm happy with that. And then I got some Ferguson. I've got some Kelsey. I'm not upset with Kelsey. Kelsey has not lived up to his billing yet, but he also hasn't had a super bad game yet. So I'm happy with where I am at tight end. The leagues where I got Kittle, I almost universally backed up my earlier tight ends like Warren and Kittle with Brenton Strange.
Yep.
He was my late guy this year. A few teams I took Loveland, and that hasn't worked out yet. And now he's hurt. But, I feel better about those moves. Even the Colston Loveland pick, I feel better about that pick because it was so late in the draft versus spending on a Bowers and being disappointed because you took Bowers. You didn't get either Puka or the Sun God.
Yeah, no.
My goodness, one of my disappointing picks was Brian Thomas. I didn't like him at his ADP, but in some leagues he fell to the late second, early third, and I grabbed him. Same with McConkey. He dropped into the third round. I was taking him. I don't have too much AJ Brown. I think I have 1 out of 18 redraft leagues at FPPC. I think I have 1 share. So I'm okay there because AJ Brown has been missing in action all season. But, thankfully, what I'm really happy about, my quarterbacks hit again. And I'm not talking about taking Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, or Hurts or Daniels and calling that a hit. I'm saying Mahomes was the earliest guy that I took in a lot of leagues, and he was going 6th or 7th round. He's paid off. But my really late guys, my trio of terror late in drafts, or my quad of terror, because I took 2 of Baker Mayfield, Jordan Love, Dak Prescott, Jared Goff. I've got 2 of those guys in a lot of leagues. I've got some Bo Nix in there. I took some Drake May. All of my quarterbacks, I'm really happy with the exception of injuries. That's it. Other than injuries, I don't have a bum in the bunch. And at quarterback right now, Lamar and Josh Allen are the 2 top guys with a 150 MVP. But you've got a total of 16 guys that are at 100 or better right now. So you've got a good crop of quarterbacks that have all paid off, including my late Justin Fields picks. So there's a lot of potential there, but Dart right out of the bat, right from the start, posted a game right there. So will we see him continue to back that up? I mean, his legs, he probably gets you 5 or 6 or 7 points a game, even when he doesn't find the touchdown. So that keeps him from being a bad pick. And you would think Dylan Gabriel is going to do similar with getting you some points if he has to scramble. But, right now I'm pretty happy where I am at quarterback. Or I am really happy where I am at running back. Don't have too many guys other than Chase Brown that have disappointed. And for every Chase Brown, I had my Breece Hall and my Travis Etienne's, and now my Scatabo and my Marks they're coming up. So I'm happy with those guys. At wide receiver, I didn't get too many bums there either. And so I think I'm okay going forward. And now I'm into my favorite time of the year, because my diary tells me I always gain positions during bye weeks.
That is neat.
The draft strategy is what does it, Professor. It's having lots of running backs to pick from.
Yeah.
And not worrying about if I've got one horrible bye week, fine. Now in FPPC, if you are all out on one bye week, that can hurt you.
Yeah.
But even there, I don't think I have a lot of redundancy. When I draft, I don't watch the bye weeks very carefully. Except quarterback.
Yeah. Well, another thing that came up was the wide receivers and this 3rd-year breakout. Thought I would bring some data.
And so I've been.
I'm sorry.
Ended up a couple of.
Uh-oh. Dennis, you're breaking up, or maybe I am breaking up.
Times where.
Uh-oh.
I've had.
Oh, you were choppy. Your vocals.
Like my.
Oh. Choppy. He's choppy. Ooh, did he leave? I think he left. Well, let me stop sharing and wait for him to come back. Come on back. Let's talk about 3rd-year dropout. Look at the data. See what it says. Cat may have bit the mouse there. I don't know. Here he is. Hello.
All right. Yeah, I crashed.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened there.
Okay.
Let me let me kind of set you back up here,
Okay.
because I know where I died.
Okay.
So, yeah, here we go. So when it comes to drafting, I don't really concentrate on those bye weeks that much. I know it can kind of bite you in the behind sometimes, but I haven't really paid too close of attention to it in the past. Maybe that is an area though where I can improve my gameplay in FPPC, because when it's just a matchup league, when you're playing head to head, I've always kind of liked to take my lumps all in one week. But in FPPC, I don't know if you can afford to do that.
It's a points only, so that's probably true.
Yes. Yes.
So, Dennis, I was, as you had winding down, I was winding up. Uh, we had discussed last night on Aces Up the third year breakout. So I just went to my 2000 to 2024 database so I can look long term or short term. And so what I do is I uh, focus not necessarily on age, but more experience level. So R is rookie. So I'm pointing to rookie, year 2, year 3, 4, 5, 6. The average end of the season fantasy points, and then this measured percent of top. The top is the best year, so that's 2000 218.8. So I could probably convert this to percentage there. I should have done that. And there it is. Okay. So first here is 2024, and the end of the season top 25 wide receivers. So I cut down the ones that probably didn't play a lot or got injured early and just didn't show up. So these are the ones that showed up to the track here to race. And so here we go. And you can see the chart below, Dennis. We start out rookie. Here's year 2 and year 3. There is a progression up a little bit, drops in year 4, which is kind of interesting, but it's back year 5. So I've always seen that year 4 drop, and I don't know if that's some players, getting out of the league. I don't know what that's all about. But then 6, 5, 6, and 7 is the peak over the last 25 years, and then a decline. Okay, so back to about 92% of the top 90%. So that's kind of the pattern. And so I see that third year, and it is 7% increase. So that's interesting. But then I asked the question, what about the last 5 years? And so if we look at the same data, but only the last 5 years,
Oh, wow.
it actually went down 2% and then went up to 10%, in the third year. So 2 to 4 was 3%. So what has happened is before 2020, there used to be a 2-year breakout at 90 and then 3, and now it looks like we have a 3-year breakout, but then it dropped again year 4, and then by year 12, 63. So I mean, I don't
Oof.
know how many, I could get you the numbers. I was just doing it, but 89, ninth, 10th, 81. And notice we in the big data, we never hit below 90. but now we are, except for the rookie year. So things have changed a little bit in the pattern, Dennis, a little bit, and that was kind of interesting. I don't know, what to say about all of it. I probably should have done this. Looks like it's 05. Let's see. Okay, a little bit better here. Uh, uh, yeah, looks like we did. But these are the ones to shoot for here to look. So I don't know what that means, but we think it's old school, but maybe the third year is real more than I thought, because I remember this kind of pattern. I remember I was thinking, it seems like 2 years is more where we see a dramatic shift up, and now I'm seeing it's 3. So as usual, this invites more thinking. Uh, Year 8 is the top, whereas used to be year 7, and noticed 228 versus 218.
Wow.
So it went up a little bit in the total number of points. So not sure what to make of all this, but I did want to look at the data. But when somebody says, here's the concern I have when, and you'll agree with this, people will say, oh, third year breakout. And when you just say those words, somehow I'm thinking, you got one broke leg, and all of a sudden the third year you're healed and you can really do great. And we're really talking 10% better. You see, if you say it like that, yeah, yes, individually there's probably some stars, but as a group, as a population, when you say third year breakout, it's like, oh, everybody is breaking out? Probably not. It's a distribution. So it invites to figure out who are the real breakouts. So if there is a breakout, this data would suggest it's time to research that, Dennis. Who are those people? Is there team specific? I mean, I wish I had some college data. Is there some draft capital on top of this? In other words, is there other metrics to kind of get into this population here to help us out? But just a generic 3-year breakout, I'm not sure that helps. If I tell you that and you see the real data, 10%, well, which 10%? Well, which ones are going up? You don't. Third year breakout, if it's, he's a second year, he's third year, it's a breakout. And I don't think the data is telling you that really. It's telling you there are some, but it suggests you better go figure out who they are to get that advantage.
And I remember way, way back in the early to mid 90s, where it really was a lot more stark in the first and second years for wide receivers. They did not come in from college. It was a very rare, like Marquise Colston was the rare bird that came in and was on fire. Okay. Back then, there was a much larger change, or at least that's what you remember, because there were several guys that seemed to hit on their third year. And I think we remember those more so than the data, suggests they're not as rare. But we remember the real big stars that came out of, literally nowhere, that people were really discounting. And all of a sudden they were huge, huge stars. This year, and what has been really weird to see this year, Professor, is that there are certain wide receivers that the consensus finally gave up on. Garrett Wilson is one of those. Even Michael Pittman was given up on this year, where both of those guys were incredibly cheap in drafts. I've got a lot of Pittman and a lot of Garrett Wilson. They were two of my main targeted guys. It was like people forgot about them or gave up on them because they've been too high on them in the past. I wonder if that's what creates the third round effect.
I don't know the answer to that. I was just trying to year sector. So this is the data here for in my database. So the rookies are pretty consistent. The third year, I don't know why the numbers drop. I think there's a lot of people that are drafted that are, leaving the league by year 3. So, I mean, what this data might say, I'd have to look at this a little more. But anyway, that was the main thing is I guess I'm buying the 3-year, but you need to go research that. I guess is my takeaway. I don't know if that's a real takeaway, but that's what I'm thinking.
Well, I think like a lot of things in fantasy football, they get anointed as being the thing.
Well, I just like to have data to confirm the thing.
Yes. And what the data is suggesting is that they're actually, when you look from a longer lens, there's 2 peaks.
Yes.
With a very
kind of an
small,
early and then a 5, 6, 7, 8 kind of peak.
And I wonder if some of this, if we break it down by draft capital, I wonder if the early peak
are the high draft capital
are more higher draft picks, and then the third year effect guys
they're
are
learning,
late
first,
late first and in second, third round guys, or really late draft picks that just suddenly work
like a
their
Puka.
way. Yeah, Puka was like right out of the box. But will we see a second plateau for him too?
I don't know.
And that's the interesting thing is I would like to look at some of these career arcs as an individual player compared to the database as a whole, and to see how much how are these just unicorns that we remember?
Yeah,
because they were such a difference. But the data does suggest there's 2 peaks, and that why is the curious thing.
And I think rookie wide receivers, it's not just, here we go, they're going to produce. They're 17%, both the big and the small are around 83% of top. So you're taking on average 17% off the top of what they're going to be. And I understand for dynasty, that's one thing, but for redraft, you better pick the right one or two. And again, I don't know what that, when I say that word, that pick the right one or, well, who are the right one or two? And I don't think just automatically a well thought of rookie, until we get the data on the draft capital, we can say, is there something there? Is there a pointing to that or not? There's just more data. And that's the whole point of the data set, Dennis, is, as you know, to inspire us to dig deeper. But just saying a generic 3-year breakout, like I said, in my head, oh well, and that got two legs now, and they can jump further, and I was, it seemed to be more dramatic than maybe it was as a group. So you could get tricked. It's like it's
Yes.
anointed. In other words, it's
Yes.
the genie. You wish for it. Here it is. All of them are going to have a 3-year breakout, and that's it. It's saying there is potential for a 3-year breakout. Okay, I think the data is suggestive of that. But again, who are those? And I think if you just stop right there, I'm not sure that I'm telling you, you need to go further. And your diary might be another way, maybe, and put down the ones you mentioned. Oh, 3-year breakout successful. Start your own database. You figure out what, patterns you could see that confirmed or didn't confirm it.
One possible thing that I'm going to suggest is happening here. And again, suggesting means I'm going to then look at the data closer
And
during
again,
the
your
off season.
MVP may be another way instead of, yeah.
MVP might be an interesting way to look at this. So here's how I imagine this happening. I'm imagining that this first and second year group of wide receivers has two distinct people, two distinct.
Uh-oh.
One is your high draft capital guys
Yep.
that are expected to be superstars.
Mhm.
Okay. And those are the guys that are getting a lot of the starts right from the beginning.
And
But the
who is
second
that this
group,
year, Dennis?
this year would be the Matthew Goldens. It would be, but then again, it's not the Luther Burdens, so the
And
draft
would you
capital.
say they're closer to 83% top?
Whew, yeah, well,
Or worse?
Burden's been under 40 probably of
Yeah,
the
but
top. He's
just
been non-existent.
you see what I'm saying? If you're just thinking, oh, well, hot rookies, here we go.
But
I,
but again, I think we have to look at more than just the rookies. We have to look at
yeah,
their opportunity index as
hmm
well, and
certainly. That's
to
the whole
see,
point. Yeah.
yeah. But I can imagine one of the reasons we're seeing this data is the first year guys, the main first year guys are second year guys that are coming out of the box hot
Yep.
are probably a smaller population than we get into by year 3 and 4. Because if guys stuck around through years 3 and 4, he's probably pretty darn good at that point.
I've
And
got
now
a
maybe
database from 2013 to 2024 with just, I think, fantasy. I've got another database that I think I could quickly, I don't know if it's weekly. I've got some weekly com data on, so you could look at these rookies. I mean, that's what I want, is to track the rookies and
yes,
look at
yes.
their first 3-4 weeks. Is that, in other words, Burden hadn't done anything? Is there anything in the history that shows he's that's more common than right out of the gate they're producing 20 points? How rare is that for rookies?
Well, if we fast, we go backwards, we
Yeah.
rewind
Yeah.
to one of our favorite wide receivers, and that's the Sun God.
Yeah.
And the Sun God came out, he was real ordinary
Yeah.
until bye week.
Uh-huh.
After the bye week, his last 6 to 8 games of the season,
Right.
he was on fire. And the logic was he can't sustain that for a full season. He was a flash in the pan. This just, he's not going to be able
You're
to
talking
do
about his
that.
first year.
his first year.
And I
From
remember the
first year
second
to
year, you
second
and
year.
I were rubbing our feelers ready to grab him
Oh,
any and every. We made so much money from him.
oh,
That was
he
yeah,
was going in the fourth, fifth rounds,
yeah,
and he
that was
was
easy money.
he looked like the guy. I mean, I remember that season. I
That was
had him rated as being like my fourth or fifth best wide receiver, and you could get him in the fourth or fifth round. I mean, it was insane how late he was falling. We started drafting him in the third because we didn't want to lose him.
yeah.
But he ended up having a fabulous season. That 6 to 8 week stretch that he had at the end of his rookie year ended up being what he was all year that second year. And then there were people that said, "Oh, he can't do that for he's just an ordinary player who had a great situation." Yeah, but it didn't change the following year. He still was a late second guy his third year.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until this season that he's really been, and even this year, he's a late first round pick, an early second. It's like, what more do you want from this guy? But I remember so many people in the fantasy football Twitter community. Oh, this is the year that Jameson Williams becomes the thing. This is the year that he cuts into the sun god's volume. Ain't happened yet. I mean, there are some real that he's the low hanging fruit guy. And yeah, you remember after Puka Nakua's fabulous season, the next year Cup's back healthy, and everybody is like, "Oh, he can't possibly do that with Cup back." Yeah, he did. And now he's doing it with a Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer Devontae Adams on the team. There's some players that get discounted for some reason, Professor. And I maybe it's this urgency, this need for people to say outlandish things to be the only one who's right about something. And it's become the thing you look for in fantasy football because these guys play back to their talent. The other thing I'm interested to see in this study on the third year breakout is I'm interested to see if there's an age discrepancy in this.
Yeah. And also, I'm going to look individually year 2 to 3 and
Yeah.
year one
Yeah.
to two, 2 to 3. And I actually want to look at the distribution of the population of the difference between the
Yes.
years.
But I think the biggest takeaway from this, though, in
Yeah.
this, what a great quick data study from last night to today, looking at a situation. I think, like most things in fantasy football,
Yeah.
they get created with maybe some data to back them up, but maybe not. And they become a thing. Like they just become a thing. And people accept it as gospel, where I've always looked at that third year breakout thing in recent years and I've said, well, I don't know. I think the game has changed. I look at each player, and this year, again, you forcing me to put percentages on things with the rookies made me look at that opportunity in a whole different way because I didn't want to be way out to lunch on my predictions.
Right.
But it made me do the hard work to determine, okay, what is in front of this person? Because we all know, the old coaching logic. First depth chart of practice, of preseason practice, and the rookie who they took with the third overall pick is fifth on the depth chart.
I agree.
Nobody believes that nonsense, do they?
Mm-mm. We don't. No.
But it's what always happens. It's like, oh, look at this guy. He's fourth on the depth chart. He's fifth on the depth. Don't worry about it. worry about worry about snap count on week 1 of the real season. That's
Right.
what you worry about. It's become this thing to try to be the only one right, saying a great player is bad. So if I say that 50 times
Yeah.
in the off season and I hit one, what kind of percentage is that? Even if I hit 5, that means 90% of the time I was wrong.
Yeah,
I
that's
was
not
dead
good.
wrong.
Yeah.
I would rather withhold my, this guy sucks type of label for a guy that really sucks. Like, in case in point, remember when we were discussing the Dallas running back situation?
Yep.
And it was like, it was never Javonte Williams sucks. It'll be Jadon Blue or Miles Sanders. It was always, I think it's Jadon Blue, but maybe it's Miles Sanders. Maybe it's a healthy Javonte Williams. As dumb as the Cowboys have shown themselves to be at times, they also still make some good decisions. So, but you cannot. I don't know. I just cannot look at a player and say, "Oh, that guy's trash. He can't do it," because you just never know. I like to play the percentages. I like to talk in percentages. I like to talk in range of outcomes. And this year I was wrong on a few. I had Keon Coleman. I said maybe Keon Coleman overtakes Khalil Shakir because he flashed in the playoffs and at the end of the year, but he didn't have 6 good games. And that's what I really, 6 seems to be my magic number now for forecasting year 2.
We could
If
test
that's,
that.
yeah, and we got to test it. Like,
Yeah. We could
is it
test it.
6? Is it 6? Is it 10? Is it 8? What is the magic number
Yep.
of great games
For
that
predictive.
that
There's a poster right there.
yes, and that's research that I'm already working on
Yep.
as we speak, because Quentin Johnson, he had a really solid 6-game total. His 10-game, not so great. But and I still, again, the successes that you have, you remember some of those, and you remember some of the failures even more.
Yep.
But the Sun God, I specifically 6 games. His 6-game total was incredible. His consistency over 6 games, it was like perfect scores. He had like a 140 MVP over those 6 games. It was just insane. And I was like, he could play back to that. And he did. He was 130 something the second year. And that resonated with me. That seems like enough games to define how good a player can be. Because anybody can have a hot 2 or 3 game streak. To be really good for 6 games, and in his case, it was 6 games in a row. And then it continued into the next season. Remember, he had 10 or more targets for an incredibly long period of time. Nobody had ever done that many games in a row of 10 plus targets. That defined him for me for all time. And I'm glad I've always been on the bandwagon, but it started with a 6-game set. And the reason that number resonated with me is that's the exact same number of games that Derrick Henry had in a row at the end of one of his, I think it was his second or third year. And I even remember the story because he sat down with Eddie George on the bye week. And Eddie George showed him everything that he was doing wrong. He came back from that meeting and finished the season with 6 straight great games. And I was impressed, and I was drafting every bit of Derrick Henry as I could get the next year. And people are like, oh, he's just flashing the pan end of the year. He's not going to do that for a full season. Actually, he got better. And I've remembered that of saying, if a guy can do that 6 consecutive games at the end of a season, I'm paying attention from now on. And it's worked for the Sun God. It's worked for Derrick Henry. I'm sure there's guys that have failed that test, but you're right. That needs to be researched. Is it 6? Is it 8? Is there a magic number?
I agree. Shall we talk about Thursday, or you want to wander
No,
around a
no,
little bit?
no. Let's get into Thursday night
Okay.
game. This is going to be a crazy game, Professor, because
Yeah.
you got
Well,
almost
yeah.
everybody on San Francisco. Every wide receiver is coming
Yes,
into this
her. Yeah.
game hurt.
But
Yeah.
before we drilled, I just wanted to show the landscape of the week because I can see our two Huskies, our Husky games, our high scoring game. It's Buffalo, New England, Detroit, Cincy. And the lower ones are Houston, Baltimore. Notice Houston is the favorite. Before Lamar announced, it was maybe he was out. It was Baltimore, so they flipped, and then Minnesota,
Wow.
Cleveland. But notice the Husky games are some of the highest spreads,
Wow.
and the Squirrel games are lower spreads compared to. So that
Oof.
I don't remember it quite being this way. So that's interesting a little bit. A little bit tricky in our pick 'em. It may be some surprises this week. Look at the Saints are favored 1.5 points on the road. I think they're on
No,
the
they're at
road.
home. They're
Oh,
at home. They're at home.
that's what it is. Okay, well, hey, I'm happy. Uh, but anyway, I just wanted to kind of let uh, folks see kind of the landscape here for the week, and you can kind of spot the Buffalo, New England, there's probably a lot of goodness there to go around. I can think of Detroit. Don't know about Cincinnati, but look at the
Oh,
spread 10.5, probably 11 or 12 for it's said and
oof.
done. And I just don't know. I mean, you almost are forced to play Chase. Michael Reedy's not. He's sitting Chase, wasn't he? And I assume Higgins as well. I don't know if he didn't say that, but so it's crazy times for that game. And then, like I said, Houston, Baltimore. I heard the latest that Lamar may try to play. I don't know if does that mean he takes a snap or two, or does that a pre warm up and then I can't do it, or I hope he doesn't take any snaps if he can't finish the game.
Oh,
Because that's going to kill me. you know that's just I don't know what, Dennis.
I
That's going to be the hardest decision. If they say he's going to give it a go, I'm going to be like, what the hell am I going to do? So
yeah,
I could just see that headache coming if that's the scenario.
I can't start him this week. I, you know, if it was and this is going to sound really strange, but if this was like a sprained knee or something where he banged a knee or, but it wasn't bad enough, I'd be worried. Hamstrings they're nasty. And for his game
Yeah,
to work,
he
he's
got to run.
he's got to be able to move. And with a bad hamstring, you, you're out there on a sore hamstring. One move too quick can end your week right there. I just can't take that chance.
Well, anyway, I just wanted to start it out for people to think. Again, I like to think about, you know, look at this, and I'll stare at it and pull up the latest odds. I start imagining some of the players that I need to think about. I see Pittman, the next game, for the Chargers, you're thinking, you're wondering, Hampton, Rams, of course, Puka, Dallas, you're thinking, Ferguson, Kansas City, I don't know Kansas City. I mean, you know that kind of thing, but it's just you start thinking about what could be and not be about things. And look at Arizona, Dennis, with all the controversy on the running backs. They're the second highest spread, -9. That I'm I don't know. I'm not sure I'm buying that spread. But anyway, folks, just that's the kind of landscape thinking that I like to do this time versus worried about my final lineups. I'm not worried about that till tomorrow for the Thursday game. And then, you know, Sunday morning, I guess they got another international game. So don't get caught, you know, be conservative. I hate international. But anyway,
Well,
Dennis, that's
it
just kind of my deal on thinking about this week in general.
even worse to think about this international game because it's going to be in London this time, not in Ireland. It looks like there is a pretty good chance,
It's gonna rain.
70-80% chance that it's going to be a damp, cool day. Like we're talking 55 degrees and rain.
Bleh.
That field, because what they do for these London games is they have a soccer pitch that is natural turf. They actually pull that off, put it in storage, and play on artificial turf field. That artificial turf for football gets very slick in wet weather. So if it does rain, what does that do to the scores? Minnesota has been over in Europe the entire week because they played in Ireland last week. They've stayed over there, whereas Cleveland travels in on Thursday. Does that affect us? Does that give an advantage to Minnesota because they've been living on that time schedule? I don't know. And I don't think we have enough data points to know. And it might vary so much by
Well, they've already got it at 36 points over under. So they're already skeptical about
that's ugly. That's an ugly point total.
But for the pick 'em, that game worries me. You know, it's one of those tough ones to me.
Well, and you got Dylan Gabriel that's expected to make a start at quarterback.
Yeah,
his first start. Judkins has looked great with a lousy quarterback play. I mean, if Gabriel is adequate, what if Gabriel has a dart-like game?
Wow, that'd be crazy.
That do? What does that do for Judkins? What does that do? What does that do for Isaiah?
That kills Minnesota. Then, see, that's what I'm worried about. Though that pick 'em, in our little contest. Like, come on,
Cleveland's defense has been pretty good, and we'll talk about this game on the Matchup Lab on Saturday.
Yep.
But Cleveland's defense has bounced back.
Yeah, they're one of our targets this week.
Yeah.
And Minnesota is deeper target if you can't get Cleveland, some of the other ones. But yeah, it's crazy business, Dennis.
And I saw JJ McCarthy has not been totally ruled out yet.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they don't risk him.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
We've got so much going on.
Yeah, here's the power rankings this week, Dennis. Detroit number 1.
I'm not seeing them full screen yet.
Okay. Can you see them now? No?
I've got just a whole bunch of little icons.
And then if I pull this up, let's see. Can you see that?
Nope, I am not getting these today. That's unusual.
Damn it. Okay. Let me stop sharing and try to come back in here. Let's see. Let's do the PowerPoint here. And let's view uh, normal. Let's do it this way.
There we go.
Yeah, so there is the efficiency. Here's power rank. Can you see this?
Oh, I've been loving these power rankings. They have been so accurate this year. Like they've been really,
I
really
hadn't even been
good.
paying attention, but then again, I've been doing pretty good in pick'ems too, Dennis.
Yes, you have.
Yeah. So Detroit, 23 better than league average. Carolina, 15 below. So San
Oof.
Francisco, I'm assuming without Purdy. Okay. So that's how I kind of scripted that. Cincinnati, I worry about Jacksonville. I actually, because of the
Oh,
matchup, New England is a worry for me. Denver's a worry, and
wow.
Baltimore. So those are some worrisome. That's probably some surprise there, Dennis. Philly is second best. Indianapolis, Arizona, just player to player, not, and this was, I think I, no, I don't think I did it with Benson out. So that could drop, and Dallas, the Chargers, and I like Tampa Bay. So this
Oh,
is
yeah.
some trickiness here. And I like Minnesota the next, so there you go, over the, but Cleveland's out of the red this week. So
Woohoo.
and New Orleans, look at where New Orleans is at.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the best power rankings they've had at a weekly level, a 7.
Wow.
So that's in the top, 10, 12 there. So that's good. Above league average, which is so surprising.
I'm
So
liking my Olave and Kamara plays then.
yeah, I talked about Olave last night on Aces Up, and he has helped me not, he has not given me donuts, and that's been
No.
helpful. He hadn't won leagues for me, but he's kept me in the hunt. And I can't complain about, getting 10, 12 points from him, and this week I'm actually considering Shaheed in emergency, break glass.
Well, yeah.
He might catch a long one or in a touchdown. So things are on the table this week.
Uh,
Detroit, I'm against Cincinnati. I'm thinking I didn't play Williams last week. I may think about him this week. I didn't play Montgomery a lot of places last week. I'm thinking maybe I should give him a chance here. So I've got some decisions to make here, Dennis. Definitely going to play Lamar Chase. I know Cincinnati's down. I may sit Higgins though.
yeah. I,
But Chase, I just think he's get you eight catches. Whether that's 8 for 20, and you get your 10. I just think he'll give you 10 points. You're gonna be mad if he lucks in, staggers into, gets a touchdown. He's close to 20 points. That's gonna piss you off. So, you know, so just be aware of that. Dennis, I have got the latest efficiency here.
ooh.
Philly's number one, Baltimore number two. That's before Lamar. So this was week 1 to 4, folks. What you saw before is predictive of week 5.
Yeah.
So it's predictive. This is based on data that's done. So you have to juggle. So it's kind of like, if a race is going right, I know in harness, they'll run those horses, and you watch to see how their gait is, and if they're lathering up, or they look a little wonky in the sulky, you're thinking, they're arriving there at the start. I'm not happy. I'm going to change my bet. So this is kind of arrival at the gate concept, Dennis. Our efficiency is who's going to arrive in better shape than some of the others, Dennis. And I've got Houston bottom one. Yeah. So
Oh,
yeah,
ouch.
that's they have just been so wacky. I know last week but remember, this is an average. It's not last week. Part of that, Dennis, is we're all tricked by what happened last week. I like efficiency to give me a broader. Doesn't mean that, okay, yeah. See, I knew Houston did good last week, Dennis. So it's not like oh, well, Houston's bad on here. Forget them. It's just reminded me they're inconsistent. And unless there's some reason for the matchup to say Houston's, going to be strong again, this is a warning to me. It's in some ways spotting inconsistency in scoring points and these kind of things, yardage and player. It's giving you a landscape top down view, but this is how the teams are arriving in this week. And Baltimore again, if Detroit's right there, Seattle, Minnesota again is, in Washington. How about that? Buffalo's right there. Cincinnati actually, because this counts Burrow's two games,
Yeah.
looks better than you might think. So just be cautious here. Kansas City is kind of moving up a little bit, Dennis, in their efficiency. So good. Dennis is happy. New Orleans is out of the red for the first week. So they're kind of moving up. So this is not where you get stuck. It's not flypaper to get stuck by these data, but it is inspiring your deeper thinking, whereas the power rankings carry that deeper, further looking at the matchup and the conditions. So that's how I use the combination. In other words, Philly is good here, and I got them pretty good here. So that makes me feel pretty good. Detroit's one of the highest. They're one of the highest, in efficiency. So that's good. That kind of thing. So I do like the doublets that are strong. And, I don't know Houston power ranking. Yeah, see, they're still kind of below average. So
Yeah.
it's still, there's concerning on their inconsistency. So that kind of thing, Dennis. So that's how I use that, folks. It's like, is there a formula? No, this is being a data analyst and you not stuck on something simple. It is complex. You got to synthesize it. You got to think. You got to look at weather, any last minute changes. And it's not, that's why fantasy is what it is, Dennis, because it's not, if you it's just clear cut, like the racetrack, here's the favorite, they always win. Well, everybody bets on him,
Yeah.
it's not that simple. And this is just methods that I've developed to help me think a little deeper. And then I get to the player level and I get deeper still. So that's kind of my overview. I'm telling you, regardless of what, if you're paying other people and sites and Patreon, and really, are they giving you, if it sounds clear cut and can't miss, and it's, I'm all in, and all these kind of all or none scenarios just don't ring true to me. I've played fantasy enough, and horse racing. 1 to 5s can break down, Dennis. The
Yep.
jockey can be thrown, and that sure thing is just didn't finish the race. So it can happen, folks. You go ask people that have bet hundreds and thousands on horses to show. Sometimes the sure thing doesn't come in the top three.
There was a 6-5 favorite leading by a length and a half and separating from the pack at the Meadowlands, took two bad steps and threw the jockey
Yep.
less than a 16th from the finish.
That's
So,
he's non winner because you got to have the
yeah,
jockey.
yeah, and when it comes to Houston, very interesting because they just, for the luck of the draw of the schedule, they played 2 games against good defenses and 2 against bad defenses. Against the good, and this has nothing to do with home and away. Okay, I'm just looking at the offenses or the defense strength. Against the bad defenses or the average to below average defenses, 45 points they scored. They scored 19, and that was in 2 games. In the 2 games against better average or better defenses, they scored 19. That's a huge disparity between the 2 sets of games. So Houston deserves to be in that high uncertainty group on any given week. But this week, they're actually facing what is probably a bad defense. So expecting them to score in the 20s doesn't seem too far-fetched, but boy, it's
a warning, Dennis.
Yeah.
It should interrupt your sure thing thinking. And I wish more analysts would give both sides of the coin a little bit more, because then it's hard to claim credit. Well, but and it comes off sounding you don't know what you're thinking. And that's, folks, that is not the case. If in science, everything stands until you prove it false. So you can act like you figured it out and the science is settled. Science is never settled. And so it doesn't mean there are bad scientists. It just means based on what's here, this is where we're at. And that's how fantasy should be judged. And I think it would allow people to think. Now, if people are lazy and want the sure things, I mean, I guess go buy, treasury bonds, right? If you want the sure money, go buy some treasury bonds from the government, and that's still, I think that's as sure as you'll get. You'll get your interest, and but don't play fantasy, because it's not treasury bonds here, Dennis. It's not 1 to 5s. No.
But if you invest in treasury bonds, and that's your only investment, you're losing ground to
inflation. I got that. But
but you got the safety.
So what do you care about? But don't get mad. Well, damn it, I should have done this, or and the analysts, they're not paid to give you both sides of the equation.
No.
I assure you the smart ones do. It's just they see other people. Nobody's admitting, well, here's the bad side of this pick here.
Yeah. And that's the way you should legitimately look at everything in fantasy football. Is you should understand that there's different ways. I mean, this is a ball that bounces funny. And
but Dennis, just to jump in, you in the off seasons said, if you can't think of 2 reasons why this ADP is wrong and it's lower or higher, you probably shouldn't be an analyst. You were a little cold that way. But anyway, folks, Dennis understands what I just chattered on about.
There was a reason that the word, what I basically said was, if you cannot find 2 things bad to say about even the best player, that's why the word fanatic came from fan. Fan came from fanatic, because you are no longer an analyst. You're just a groupie. You're a fan, at that point, because every player's got an upside and a downside. What do we say about CMC this year? We said, oh my gosh, he should be drafted in the first half of the first round, but boy, it's pucker up time,
Well, what happened last year? He's had some injury. So you had to juggle in that, and to me,
Oh,
Bijan was that was my choice early in
oh
the
yeah.
draft.
I took Bijan and Gibbs, and I'm
Yes,
happy that I took those two guys over
and CMC
McCaffrey.
might be better than both of them, but I think the
Yeah,
safety and the difference between CMC and those is probably not enough to lose you leagues. I think Bijan
no,
will
no.
definitely help you win too.
And you can add into that equation James Cook, who went later in the draft, is having as good of a season as CMC in
Yep.
fantasy football. So,
Yep.
guys come in, and Jonathan Taylor, who went later, it was a hell of a pick as well. So, you've got all of these, well, not to mention Javante Williams, who
Yeah.
was
Well,
basically
that's a
free.
surprise.
Yeah, but again, when we drafted that TSA team, we grabbed Javante Williams, and
Oh
we were
yeah.
like, he is not falling any farther.
Yep. Yep.
And that was the answer right there, is
Yeah.
he's not falling any farther. But you got to understand that there are no guarantees, and that brings us right into perfectly Thursday night, because
Yeah.
this game, this is one of the tougher games, I think, to handicap all season. You got two teams on a short turnaround. San Francisco with a quarterback and two wide receivers banged up, and you got CMC now being forced to, who's getting huge volume. Can he withstand huge volume again just 4 days later? You got
Yeah.
LA with a quarterback who's got a back issue, and now you force him to turn around in 4 days. Oh my goodness. I hate Thursday night games
Yeah.
because they should be it. I think the best bet on Thursday nights is probably the under every time.
Yeah.
I'm interested to track that all season. Maybe that's a good poster as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. You could.
But I
So
want to see where it goes.
Vegas sees it a little bit different. They think the Rams at about 30 points versus San Francisco 18. I don't think they think Purdy's going to play. So spreads about a
Yeah.
touchdown, over under about 47. Uh LA is at home, and their defense, it says, I don't know who their tight end is, but Stafford has a above average situation. Kerwin Williams, it's below average tough, but it's not impossible. But Frisco is real. Their defense is tough on wide
Oh yeah.
receivers and the
Yep, they are.
kicker. Don't want to play either defense. So it looks like, short passes and Puka. I think Puka's immune to that doubt, but I just don't know for Kerwin. I don't know. You got to play him, but he Blake Corum may get more than you think there, since it's a
They
short turnaround.
they might have to lean into the depth more in this game.
Yeah,
That's and especially if they get a comfortable lead. Why
yeah,
would they
yeah.
why would they do anything? That's where I say it's going to be very hard to anticipate what either team is going to do.
Yeah, in Frisco, against the Rams, Rams are extra tough against CMC, but I think he's immune to that.
Yeah.
Wide receivers, if they can figure out who's who, there you go. It may be Kendrick Bourne's day. I don't know. Quarterback is fine. Tight end is fine. So Tongas, Dennis, he's I've still got him in a lot of
Yep.
places.
So do I.
He's a streamer type this week, losing
Yep.
Kraft and whatnot. So I'm got him on the warm up pad, getting ready to jump in. Rams are about 40% efficient, so below average. They love away games, but they're at home, so away games they're 27% better. So that
Wow.
means home 27% less. Again, this
Phew.
data is still, pretty strange. Home, they like to pass a little more, rush a little less. And I'm not sure how you interpret the DAPS. It looks like they can rush and get some. And with Puka, I'm not worried about the passing. San Francisco is one of the lowest efficiencies, Dennis, 19. So half, half. They've been
Wow.
so, with Purdy out and everything. Frisco doesn't really have a home away bias. So they're fine away. But I will say this, that Frisco away rushes 29% more. So CMC, goodness, 29. Can you imagine 30% more activity for CMC?
Wow.
I don't know who's going to help him there. Maybe that's a daily, maybe there's a prop there on the second. Who would be the second one? Is it Brian? Is it what's his name from
It'll probably
Washington?
be Brian Robinson. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe there's a prop there, Dennis. Maybe a Puka and Brian in-game prop. I don't know. I'm probably not betting that, but I'm just giving that. San Francisco away passes a little less, 7%. So nothing's really, I understand the efficiency is telling you the Rams are double good. Frisco doesn't have Purdy. Probably CMC, I don't think Vegas sees that CMC can do enough without any help. If they had Kittle, if they had, Purdy and the wide receivers weren't hurt, I think it'd be the spread would be a lot closer. So Vegas thinks it's not close, Dennis, and that's suspicious on a Thursday. See, I get suspicious when it seems like oh yeah, it's a done deal. I hate
Yeah.
done deals in international games and Thursday games, Dennis, because you can get burned. So be cautious, but play your studs, and but just don't don't break your TV with the beer bottle when it doesn't work out. Don't bet the mortgage on anything on this game.
That is great advice. I I don't know how to read this game at all. I don't know who's going to be quarterbacking for San Francisco. I don't know if either team is going to lean into, you know, I just don't know. I I'm up in doubt on this. Here's the craziest stat though. CMC is having probably the most amazing start to a fantasy football season.
Yeah.
Okay. He's been over 20 points every game.
Yep.
They've only scored 80 points over 4 games.
Dennis, look at
If
that efficiency.
Yeah, if I were to look, it just show you CMC stats.
You'd think they'd
You
scored 180.
30, 30, 32, 33 points a game
Yep.
on average is what you'd be guessing. Their efficiency has been awful because they just been able to milk the clock with CMC doing his thing. It's
I don't
boy.
think with the Rams and Puka that this is the team you're going to, get a lead and milk it down.
No, I think this could be an ugly win for the Rams. I could see something in the order of 17-10 type of a score here would not shock me at all.
Yeah.
Rams, if I was forced to, first of all, I wouldn't bet this on the
Nope.
spread or the money line either. Just don't have any confidence because what if CMC just goes the distance a couple of times, which he's capable of doing, out of the backfield, takes a short pass and takes it
Just like
to the
Puka on the
house.
other side to
Oh,
just
Puka could do
grind
the
them
same thing.
down.
Yeah. So who knows what's going to happen
So
on
it
this
may come
game?
down to who of those two who has the best game.
I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I wouldn't even try to get cute playing any San Francisco wide receivers here because you just don't know who they're going to be. You don't know, even if Jennings and Pearsall start the game, you don't know if they're going to get a full game in.
Yep.
Tungus, the tight end, looks like a good play. Their tight end position this year has a 40 for an MVP index. So it's not great, but Tungus has had 2 really solid games and 1 bad game. So, boy, if you're in that desperation mode at tight end that you've been
if
playing him.
Kraft is on bye, so what you gonna do?
Kraft is on bye.
You're probably not picking up Hunter
Pitts.
Henry. Darren
Pitts
Waller could
bye.
be a mirage out there, and people spend too much fab. Dennis, my highest fab for him was about $30 in a couple leagues
I did the same thing.
Folks, not 300, 30. And that was maybe a little great. I didn't see, other than Kendre Miller, when I had Kamara, was the only one. I think there was 1 or 2 that they'd let him slide. I think I was much higher. But other than that, I'm in the 20s, 30s, 10s, and a lot of them are just $1. Just give me a body here.
I kind of like Theo Johnson and Mason Taylor better at tight end because they got the snaps. I don't like when you got a guy, he had 2 touchdowns. I think he took like 8 snaps all game. It was incredibly low snap count for him. I hate those touchdown. I don't like chasing a 2 touchdown game. 2 touchdown games are so rare. I can't
with
remember
tight ends especially.
Can't remember the last time we had a back-to-back.
Jimmy Graham at Seattle had the wake-up season. He had 10 touchdowns that year.
Yeah.
I heard a guy on the radio squawking. So their response to, Waller is, well, maybe Waller's going to have a Jimmy Graham rebirth for 1 year. So here's the thing. It has been done. So it's not like the sound barrier hasn't been broken. It's been broken, but it's damn rare. So, if you're betting on it, you're not betting even money. You're getting some nice odds that Darren Waller, gives you 2 touchdowns in the next 6 games. There's your prop. If Vegas wouldn't do it, or if Vegas did, Dennis, they wouldn't give you the proper odds. They wouldn't, because they're there to make money. But the rarity, I miss the old days when they had the bookmakers. You'd walk up to them. We were watching some show, and it was showing the old-fashioned bookmakers, and you could go over there and ask, hey, I'll get, let's do this deal. You still had a chance. You could actually talk them into something. But anyway, I miss those days. I never saw those days, but I miss them.
Yeah, those are. My dad told me about that at the track.
Can you imagine having bookmakers walking around and just propositioning them?
In the old days at Chicago harness racing, you had those guys booking bets on the side outside of the parimutuel deal. Now, granted, if they got caught, they were in deep water. But that would be fun because I kind of like.
You could set up your own prop.
Yeah, and if they take it, great. If they don't, that's fine because I'm going to set the odds where I think the probabilities are. On this game, Professor, I would avoid loading up. You obviously got to play your studs, but my studs are defined as CMC, Puka, maybe Kyron Williams. But even here in this game, if I got another option than Kyron Williams, I might take it because I could see a game where the volume changes,
Yeah.
where you see more of a split. This game has too many variables to play a lot of players. So go in very cautious. If I wanted to play anything in this game on the lines, I'd play the under. I think this could be a miserable Thursday night game,
Yep.
but at least we do get football. So head on over to the scienceoffantasyfootball.com. The professor will have all kinds of data for you to look at as you get ready for week 5. Hard to believe it's week 5 already. I'll have 3 articles up by the time we get to the weekend, working on my at the quarter poll article as we speak.
And we put the first one up today, Dennis, at Science of Fantasy Football, the looking back, thinking forward.
Getting you ready for FPPC waivers this evening.
Yep.
And
so that's that's what I'm doing from now on till the 9 o'clock.
Gonna be full throttle on working on that. And remember to head on over to the sports affiliation.
Check out our Aces Up, Dennis. That was good last night. Yeah,
it was a lot of fun. There's shows every day of the week over there at their YouTube channel. Like and subscribe to their YouTube channel. Check us out Saturday for the Matchup Lab. And come on back here for another edition of the Science of Fantasy Football.
Get to work, folks.
Boy, the exasperation is real with that Thursday night game. I don't like this game. This one is a sucker hole.
You did not embolden me on some. It wasn't like, if you would have been, this is, if you'd been gun ho, but now as a pessimist, you've added the dark clouds to my thinking. So
yes. So I have one of my teams over in FPPC where I am far and away doing great. Like I'm first place, I'm cruising. I've got a nice roster. I right now, as of 4:34 p.m. the day before the game, I've got Kyron Williams on my bench.
Wow.
Because I just don't like this game. I think there's other opportunities that I like better than this game. And again, that's an unusual roster. Because I only have 6 starting positions. Mm-hmm. I didn't start Tet McMillan last week. Like I had guys on the bench that were as good as my guys that were in the starting lineup. I had 198 points for the week, and I didn't play Tet McMillan. Like I got an embarrassment of riches on that team that I can pick and choose who I'm going to start. And I don't think I can make a bad decision. And in that team, I've got Kyron Williams on the bench for once because I think I played Woody Marks ahead of him. Just insanely good draft in that one league where I'm going to have some interesting decisions to make. And I already know my strategy is Thursday games and European games. If I can avoid them, I will. If I'm in good shape, I'll take some uncertainty off the table. And, I don't think it's going to bite me because I've got so much talent and so much depth. And I don't think I have a single guy on bye this week. So it again allows you to make some different decisions. And in those sorts of leagues, I'm avoiding chaos at all. But that's what I did last week. And I always scored 198 points. I mean, but again, I had guys on the bench that were scoring 13, 14 points. So I don't know if I can make a bad decision in that league. but and I had, and that's a Baker Mayfield league too. So, but oh man, crazy, crazy lineups that you can put together when you draft right.
Crazy. I just the one Johnson tied in
Yeah.
for questionable now. So
Oh,
yeah.
jeez.
So be cautious.
Ah,
That
and
just
there's,
splashed.
yeah, and I've got two leagues where I have to add a tight end, so I got to go back
Yeah,
and double check that.
dub,
Yeah,
double check, see what it's all about.
because that's the thing that hurts in FPPC. Because if you add a guy and then he doesn't play, you're screwed on Sunday. You got
Yeah.
nothing,
Yeah.
and that's so dangerous. It adds. I like it because it adds to
Yeah.
the challenge. But boy,
Yeah.
I cuss it out at the time it happens to me, and it's happened a few times.
I
But
agree. Okay, I'm gonna shut recording down.